Well, hello and welcome everyone. Here today with Tracie Edwards, who's a Senior Solutions Analyst out of Salt Lake, Utah. Welcome, Tracie.
Thanks, Laura. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to meet with you today. Tracie has been a founding member and really a huge contributor in our Circle of Success career coaching program, and agreed to sit down and share some of the things that some of the amazing accomplishments she's had this year, and just talk us through like how she ended up in that senior level role and some of the other things that have happened to help inspire you on your business analyst career path. So Tracie, why don't you just start us off, maybe take us a step back towards kind of where you were towards the beginning of this year in your career, what role you were in, and kind of what you liked about that, and maybe what some of your frustrations were.
Sure. So back, I guess it was probably December, November of last year. I was working at a trucking company. I was a business process analyst and really enjoyed the organization. I was also in a master's degree program through Penn State World Campus at the time, and was looking towards my final semester of that, and was sort of trying to figure out for myself where it was that I wanted to go with this degree and with this career. Didn't think that the current situation was going to be super long term. I felt really good about it at the time, but I knew that it probably could not become a long term thing, just sort of based on my ambitions and such. And so, as you posted on LinkedIn about sort of what interest would people have in getting more of a coaching opportunity and that kind of thing, I felt that it was a great time for me to sort of jump into that and see if I could help to kind of grow from where I was. I didn't think there was advancement opportunity and that kind of thing where I was. So.
I'm kind of remembering back to that now. There was this shared kind of, you were in a good spot and it was comfortable, but it wasn't where you ultimately wanted to be. And you also had just finished, or were almost finished, with this significant degree. And how long did you spend pursuing that degree? That was a big commitment, right?
Yeah, I started in January of 2017.
Okay.
So just about 2.5 years, and I went sort of on the calendar year. So I was going to school in the summers as well and taking 1 or 2 classes at a time and stuff.
Yeah. And what were some of your hopes when you joined the Circle of Success program in January?
I was looking to maybe discover some things about myself that were perhaps keeping me from progressing the way that I wanted to, and maybe trying to find some clarity around what I wanted to get from the degree and that kind of thing. My degree is in enterprise architecture, but I'm not a highly technical enterprise architect and that kind of thing. I was more interested in organizations and strategic goals and that kind of thing. So sort of more on a business architecture side, but sort of uncertain there as well. And so just trying to kind of understand some things about myself and maybe find some clarity on where I wanted to go, knowing that I did have some ambition to go further.
Yeah. And as you think about the year, I mean, obviously the new job is a big one, but are there other milestones that stand out to you before that?
I think definitely graduating was huge for me, and I turned that into a big sort of memorable experience, and went out to Pennsylvania and did the walk and all of that kind of thing. And I think previous to that, I had been recruited a bit by this other organization, and I know that was cool thing to sort of have somebody come looking for me, kind of thing, that had been sort of seldom for me before. And so I think those were a couple of things that sort of gave me a little more confidence so that I could then do some things to approach my then employer to see, sort of what the possibilities were, and kind of stick up for myself and promote myself in the organization. So.
And how did that go? So you went, before the new position, you also went back to your previous employer or current employer at the time, right? To try to expand your role. What were some of the results there?
I worked pretty closely with the VP of technology there, and he had asked for some feedback on how things were going. And I sort of said, here's what I've been doing this last year. Here's how I've been contributing. I think I should be a senior level analyst. He said okay, but didn't, say anything really beyond that. And then sort of along that time, a couple of people, other business analysts, left the organization. And that made things a bit uncomfortable, and several people had left within a certain time frame. So I sort of went to the boss and I said, here's what I've been doing, and I need somebody who's willing to help put me forward and be an advocate for me. And it was something that sort of had never really crossed her mind before, but it seemed like sort of a light went on there, and she said, oh, okay, well, I can do that. And let's kind of start working on that. So I think it was rather mixed, but positive mixed, maybe. There was no, well, I think you're crazy or anything like that. They seemed to sort of accept that yes, they needed to address something at some point.
So you really went to somebody and asked for an advocate, to be an advocate for the role and for you in your career. Yeah.
I think I had a well-intended boss, but one who didn't really know how to grow her people and stuff. And I don't know that it was like a priority for her as much. But when I did bring it up, there was some recognition that, she maybe needed to think more about this. And so it ended up being a positive conversation.
Yeah. And did some results come from that too? I imagine a lot of confidence just came from having the conversation, right? And having that go okay, right?
I definitely, I think confidence was a big one. Because I felt like when I joined the organization, I needed to do some things to sort of boost my confidence. And I felt like I kind of grew in confidence as that year went along. We did have a conversation about, well, here's what we can do for you now, and then here's what we think we can do in a few months after that. And it was a sort of a bit of a plan in place, although it was sort of an undefined timeline and stuff, but there was definitely an attempt to, let's see what we can do for you.
Yeah, so. That's awesome. And anything else you want to share about that before we talk about kind of the next opportunity that came up?
I think there were some learnings that I needed to get. I think I was kind of weirded out while people were leaving, and I got into kind of a negative space a bit, and I needed to have some constructive feedback from some people to sort of help me turn that around. And some of that came from friends, and some of that came from a circle of success, and I think that was super helpful.
Yeah, it's always good to have that kind of outside perspective and just to see it in its full awareness and full truth.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Helped me really reframe and sort of rethink how I was approaching things with my manager and stuff. So
then tell us about the next opportunity. When did that start? Was this the company that had been recruiting you?
This was the company that had been recruiting me, and right as I was on the East Coast for graduation, I found out that I did not get the job. I had interviewed with them that month and, did not get the job. Okay, well, I was kind of making some other plans. I know we talked about, I was thinking maybe of relocating or doing some things to kind of jumpstart how I was feeling. And they happened to call as I was considering some of those other things. They called me again and asked if I was still available. They had a new role. They felt I'd be a great fit for it. It was a senior role, and would I come in and talk about it? And so I did. That was very unexpected, and went in and talked about it.
And on that one, I remember you bringing up it was either in Slack or one of the calls, like, I don't know that I should even go down this road with them anymore, right? And I think Paula and I were both like, nope, this is opportunity, like saying yes. Like you started to get clear about what you wanted and even exploring all kinds of things. And then this same opportunity kind of slid in the back door for you.
Yeah, and it really kind of stunned me. And I was glad to have the group to sort of bring me out of that shock a little bit and sort of move forward. And so that was a big help.
Yeah. But then you still had, at some point, you still withdrew yourself again, right?
Yeah. So what ended up happening is I had already, I think, interviewed with them 3 times back in April. And then I took another day off and went in and interviewed again. And they basically replied back, said, would I talk to the hiring manager? Well, sure. So I took some time off to do a WebEx with the hiring manager. And then they said, would you come in for a few hours and interview with these other people? And I said, I can't keep doing this.
And this was travel, right? You had to travel. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to take time off. I had to, make special plans and that kind of thing. And I said, I think if you're obviously uncertain about me, then I think maybe we should both move on. And I hope you find a great candidate. I really appreciate you coming and talking to me again and that kind of thing. And they said, oh, wait a minute. What if we have you just talk to one more person and we'll do a WebEx? And I just said, no, I think I'm good with my decision. And then the hiring manager's boss called me and said, hey, I don't know what happened, but we really like you. I think you're the right person for the job. It's yours if you want it. And so I thought, how could I not want to work for someone who wanted to reach out and make things right and that kind of thing. And so I asked them to send me an offer. So.
Yeah. And just the power and the confidence to say no like that. Like, obviously you had a current job, so it's not like it's more difficult when you're in between, but like you still, I don't think there were other opportunities right then that were surfacing. So it's like the trust that if this isn't it, something else will materialize, right? That you really had in yourself.
Yeah, I felt like I had an iron or two still in the fire with some other things. I knew that I was secure where I was and it was going okay. And so I felt that I would be okay if I said no. And it was one of those things where I think sometimes we worry about choices, but really any choice could be the right choice. We just need to make a choice.
Yeah, and be good, feel good with it and move forward. Yes, that's so true. So do you want to share, what would you like to share about the offer itself?
So this was on a Friday afternoon and they couldn't get the offer to me over the weekend. But I just, did a lot of thinking over the weekend and thought, well, I probably have to go for it. And if it comes anywhere good, I need to say yes and that kind of thing. And I got the offer Monday morning and it was about $30,000 more than I was currently making. Definitely on the high side for what I think the market is here in Salt Lake. And it came with a bonus opportunity, and it came with a stock opportunity. It was a senior title, and I said yes pretty quickly.
Yeah, I remember you sharing. You were so excited about the offer. Yeah, it was a great offer too.
Yeah. So, and just strictly from a numbers perspective, and that's sort of what I went back to at the other company. I said, just from a numbers perspective, I need to say yes to this. I really appreciate the opportunity to have been here and all the things that have occurred while I've been here, but just the numbers are such that I need to take this. And they ended up being very good about it.
Yeah, and it was the numbers, and I know you felt like the connection from that VP and the title, kind of all the things that combined, right?
Yeah, I think there's very few leaders that will ask for constructive feedback and, make an effort to kind of apologize if something didn't go quite right. And I was really, really impressed by that. I've never seen that in my entire career. So I knew that I needed to really reconsider and see what they could do with that.
Yeah. So tell us about the role. Now you've been in it a couple months now, right?
Yeah, so about 7-8 weeks now. And it's a senior solutions analyst. I work on the telephony development team. Most of my team is in San Francisco. That's where my boss and the team engineers are located. And then myself and the VP are located here in Salt Lake. It's a contact center organization, operations side of the company. And there's a lot of inbound and outbound sales and customer service and that kind of thing. So the telephony team works on the IVR and phone administration products and that kind of thing. So I'm the senior business analyst for that, and I'm interacting with the business stakeholders to try and understand what their needs are, what their priorities are, and try and bring those to the team.
And it's a new business analyst. Like a lot of them haven't worked with a business analyst before, right?
Yeah, that's been sort of the situation. They haven't worked with a BA in a while. They don't know what to expect or what my expectations are. I've noticed that there's some hesitation to sort of engage with some of the standing meetings and such like that. So trying to understand what's going to make it most effective for them. So they're wanting to get in there with the team and sort of promote their requests and that kind of thing. And that's definitely a work in progress. And I'm also been asked to manage the backlog. So trying to really go through the backlog. It's got a list of requests and maintenance items, and it's kind of all over the place. And not a lot of the things are really business driven. And so I'm trying to work on that as well, so that they kind of have an understanding of, we need to make sure that the things that we're working on have value.
Right. What I keep seeing from you in the group too is this commitment to being that senior BA, right? Like getting it in my head or your head, like how does a senior BA do this and bringing that forward, which is like, is pushing you forward too. Because some of that's been uncomfortable with like, these people don't know how to work with a BA and kind of like, you're really kind of bringing that to them, which is, it's been fun to watch that over the last few weeks for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely been an ongoing thing for me, especially I know we've had the conversation around how how much access do I have to my boss and that kind of thing. And so how do I move forward when I don't necessarily have the access to him when he's really busy and stuff. And so I've been very consciously in my head, okay, what would a senior PA do in this situation?
Yeah, and sometimes asking too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, great way to use the group. So I love your journey. I think it's so exciting to watch just in these 9 months that we've been together where you've grown, and obviously you were doing a lot of work before that as well. When you think about this year, is anything in particular about your participation in the Circle of Success kind of stand out to you, like any of the teachings or elements of it that was helpful as you made some of these transformations?
I think definitely some of the teachings around as we're growing and as we're succeeding, here's how we're helping other people. So being willing to sort of make sure that the things I'm doing are also helping other people as I go along. Einstein time has been a big thing, especially as I've been trying to kind of calm myself down when I'm commuting and or time and that kind of thing. Einstein time has helped, and just being able to ask questions when I really don't know who else to go to. I know that I can go to the group to kind of get my questions out there, and everybody's usually really good at responding and giving advice, and that's been super helpful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you are in there sharing your wins regularly too, which I love to see. So one of our win hunters, as we like to say. Like every day is a win, right?
It helps me stay positive. It helps me to see the good things happening in my life, and sometimes we don't always as easily recognize it. So being more aware of those wins has been a big help for me, and being aware of all the wins of the folks in the rest of the group is a help as well.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I think just, being willing to put ourselves out there, being willing to grow and sort of pushing if we feel like we're not getting where we want to go is helpful, and looking for constructive feedback and all those different things. I think just continuing to sort of act and move forward. One of the things that I remember you saying was action leads to clarity.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I don't have that clarity, I just need to do something to move forward, and that's a big help for me.
Yeah, it's a big, and we can get so stuck kind of rethinking, right?
Yeah.
I just got a message, my internet. Okay, there, it looks like it's better. It's like, oh no. So I have a final question that I like to ask, which is one of the things that I have come to appreciate even more so building the Circle of Success program is how success looks a little different to everyone, right? And so I'd love to hear what does success look like to you, or how would you define that for yourself?
Oh, wow. I think sometimes I struggle with success needing to be a more visible thing than it is. And so I think success for me is just knowing and feeling like I'm in the right place right now, and that I'm helping other people, and that kind of thing seems to sort of validate me these days.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, how I love you've mentioned that a few times, the impact that you're making, and as you grow, how that actually affects other people. That's something that we can do in the abundance mindset, and it's definitely a core principle in my life too. So I appreciate you for being part of that and carrying that torch as well.
You bet.
All right. Thank you, Tracie. And if anyone listening in would like to learn more about the Circle of Success, we'll make sure to share a link with that below. But in the meantime, Tracie, I'd just like to thank you for sharing your story and sharing your wins and letting us know like what it took to make those things happen. Because I think your journey has been amazing, but also like people be like, I would have never have thought to approach that in that way. And so sometimes these opportunities come in unexpected ways, and I just really appreciate being able to share that with people.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity. It's always fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracie.